Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah amma ba'd. In our last session, we had pretty much completed the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam, but we had not completed the surah. Today, inshallah, we're going to try to finish off some of the concluding verses of Surah Yusuf and inshallah finish the surah as well. So we had reached the point in the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam where Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam raises his parents to the throne, and then all of them, including the brothers, they fall in sujood, in prostration before Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. And then he says to his father, Ya abati, hada ta'weelu ru'yaya min qabl. Oh my dear father, this is the interpretation of the dream that I had seen before. قَدْ جَعَلَهَا رَبِّي حَقًّا. Verily, my Lord has made it into a reality. وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي. And indeed, He was most gracious to me. إِذْ أَخْرَجَنِي مِنَ السِّجْنِ. When He brought me out of the prison. وَجَاءَ بِكُم مِنَ الْبَدْوِ. And He brought you out of the countryside. مِنْ بَعْدِ أَنْ نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِ إِخْوَتِي. After shaitan had caused some rift between me and my brothers. إِنَّ رَبِّي لَطِيفٌ لِمَا يَشَاءُ. Verily, my Lord, He does what He pleases in a very subtle way. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْعَلِيمُ الْحَكِيمُ. Verily, He is all-knowing and all-wise. And then Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he makes a dua, and we mentioned this in detail last week. رَبِّ قَدْ آتَيْتَنِي مِنَ الْمُلْكِ. When he said, Oh my Lord, verily you have given me something or a little bit of kingdom. وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. And you have taught me something of the interpretation of dreams. فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. O Creator of the heavens and the earth, أَنْتَ وَلِيِّي فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. You are my guardian in this world and in the hereafter. تَوَفَّنِي مُسْلِمًا. Cause me to die as a Muslim. وَالْحِقْنِي بِالصَّالِحِينَ. And let me join the righteous people. And over here, the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, it comes to an end. Then from here onwards, from ayah number 102 to ayah number 111, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then addresses the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So these are the concluding verses of Surah Yusuf, and inshallah today we'll try to cover this and finish the surah as well. In ayah number 102, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and says, ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهِ إِلَيْكَ. That or all of this is from the news of the unseen that we have revealed unto you. وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ. And you are not with them. Allah is addressing the Prophet ﷺ. إِذْ أَجْمَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ. When they gathered together. وَهُمْ يَمْكُرُونَ. And they were planning and plotting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet ﷺ, you are not with them when the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam were planning and plotting to throw Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam into the well. So first thing, the ayah begins with the word ذَلِكَ. ذَلِكَ means that. And it is called ism ishara ba'id. It is the far away pronoun. Now a person who knows basic Arabic would assume that perhaps هذا would have been more appropriate because we just finished the story. Okay, because it's not far. Just like when we start the Quran, Surah Baqarah, it begins with ذَلِكَ. And I mentioned this before, that in Arabic, sometimes to raise the status of something, the far away pronoun is used, even though the thing may be very close. And this is out of respect. Okay, to show the status of something or to show the dignity of a person. Even in English, this is also used to a certain degree. If you want to kind of trivialize something or to kind of downgrade something or someone, you kind of say this. But if you want to raise something, you say, oh, that. Okay, so same thing in Arabic. ذَلِكَ. That is from the news of the unseen we have revealed to you. And you are not with them when they gathered together and when they were plotting to throw Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam into the well. So now why is Allah addressing the Prophet in this manner? The Prophet obviously knew that he was not there. And this type of phrasing is mentioned few times in the Quran. For example, in Surah Al-Qasas, in the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions something similar. وَمَا كُنْتَ بِجَانِبِ الْغَرْبِيِّ إِذْ قَضَيْنَا إِلَى مُوسَى الْأَمْرَ وَمَا كُنْتَ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ وَمَا كُنْتَ بِجَانِبِ الطُّورِ إِذْ نَادَيْنَا. You are not on the side of the mountain of Tur when he called upon Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. So what is the purpose of saying this? The Prophet knew that he was not there. This is not so much for the Prophet ﷺ, but rather for others to ponder and think and contemplate, and for them to realize that this should be a proof and this should be very clear to people that indeed the Prophet ﷺ is a true prophet and messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then how did the Prophet know all of this? He was not present. And this is something that many times we overlook. when it comes to the miracles of the Quran, we talk about the scientific miracles and the eloquence of the Quran, but many times we overlook this point. That look at all of these stories. How did the Prophet know this? Okay, there's only three options, and none of them apply to the Prophet. He could have not witnessed any of these events, because obviously they happened hundreds and thousands of years before the Prophet. As the ayah says, وَمَا كُنْتَ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ, you are not present when this happened. So the Prophet could have not witnessed it itself. The Prophet could have not heard of it because he was in Makkah, and he was surrounded by the Quraysh, the pagans of Makkah, and they were steeped in idolatry. And he's teaching them the concept of Tawheed, about Millat Ibrahim, the way of Ibrahim ﷺ, and the stories of Adam and Musa and Isa ﷺ, stories that you find in the Old and New Testament. And obviously the Prophet ﷺ was not taught by anyone. The Jews, the people of the book, were in Medina, and the Christians, they were in Najran, and the Prophet ﷺ was in Makkah. So you could have not heard it from them. He could have not read it because he was An-Nabi al-Ummi. He was the unlettered prophet. And even if he could read the Bible, the Old and New Testament, they were translated into Arabic few centuries or few decades after the demise of the Prophet ﷺ. So all of this is clear proof that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, to kind of simplify this a little bit more, it's like a person who is, say, in the middle of the jungle of South America, and say this is a tribe that is completely cut off from civilization, and there is a person who has not been taught by anyone, and all of a sudden he starts telling you the history of the world, the history of Persia and Rome. Obviously, if you were to hear something like this, it would be inexplicable. Okay, how did something like this happen? Same thing with the Prophet ﷺ. Well, for us, the rational, the logic behind this is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed all of this to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ, that is the news of the unseen that we have revealed unto thee. And this kind of relates back to the beginning of the surah. And this is what we mentioned in the beginning as well, that the Quraysh of Makkah, they wanted to know if the Prophet was really a true prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. And so they sent a delegation to the Yahud of Yathrib, of Medina, asking for some kind of question whereby they can ask Rasulullah and find out if he's a true prophet or not. And they said, okay, ask him about the story of Yusuf and his brothers. Because the Quraysh, they did not know of this story. They did not know about the progeny of Ishaq alayhi salatu wasalam, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam. They only knew about Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, since they were the descendants of Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. But they did not know anything about, Ishaq alayhi salatu wasalam. So they said, ask him about the story of Yusuf. And this point is also repeated in Surah Hud. Allah says, تِلْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهَا إِلَيْكَ. This is the news of the unseen we have revealed unto thee. مَا كُنْتَ تَعْلَمُهَا أَنْتَ وَلَا قَوْمُكَ مِنْ قَبْلِ هَذَا. Neither you nor your people knew about these stories before this. So this is clear proof that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah says, you are not with them when they gathered together and they were plotting and planning to throw Yusuf into the well. Now, why is only this point emphasized and highlighted? Why not other points? That the Prophet was not with Yusuf ﷺ in the palace, he was not with them, in all these other places. Because this was the most secret part of the whole story. They made sure that no one else knew of this. Only Yusuf ﷺ and the brothers. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed all of this to the Prophet ﷺ and is in the Quran, and all of us, we know this. And this, again, another proof that indeed Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam received all of this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In verse number 103, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And most of mankind would not believe, وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ, no matter how eager you may be. This tells us what? Number one, that the Prophet was very, very eager for people to accept Islam. He was very eager for people to accept the truth. And this point is also reiterated in Surah Al-Kahf. فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ. Perhaps you may kill yourself out of grief after them, that you want them to accept Islam, and because of this you may die because of grief. So this is how much the Prophet desired for people to accept Islam, to accept the truth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that most of people will not believe. They're so blinded by their own desires that they become deaf, dumb and blind, and they will not accept the truth. Even though it's very clear, but because they're being controlled by their own desires, that they cannot see the truth. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ. And most of the people would not believe, وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ, no matter how much you desire. Verse number 104, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ. And you do not ask them of any wages. You're not asking them for any reward. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرُ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. This is but a reminder for the alamin, for the people. Now Allah mentions another point, and this is another proof of the truthfulness and honesty of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that he is also a true prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is that? That he is not asking for any wages. He's not asking for anything to do with this dunya. Where if you were to study the cases of those who are false prophets or those who want some type of leadership, they have some personal and worldly motive behind it. They want some power, prestige, money, fame, so on and so forth. But we know that was not the case with Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the initial stages of Nabuwah, we know the story that one of the chieftains of Mecca, he even came to the Prophet and to negotiate this with Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, "O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if it is money that you want, that all of us are ready to come together and make a collection for you, and you become the wealthiest person in Mecca. If it is fame, prestige, and position of honor that you want, all of us are ready to accept you as our king. And if it is a woman that you desire, you can look and see, and you can marry the most beautiful woman of Mecca." But the Prophet ﷺ, he refused all of that. He said, "No, I am indeed the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I've been sent to propagate this deen." So he had no worldly motive behind it. Even later in the Medinan stage, when the Muslims were much better financially speaking, money started to pour into the Islamic State, even then the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ did not change significantly. And we know that famous hadith that when Umar ibn Khattab entered the house and he saw the Prophet ﷺ, he was lying on what we call in our vernacular, on the frame of the bed. Okay, it did not even have the mattress, and because of it, it actually left marks on the side of the Prophet ﷺ. And when Umar ibn Khattab, when he saw this, he started to cry, and he said, "O Prophet of Allah, that look at the kings of Rome and Persia. Surely you deserve more than that. That you also deserve to live a comfortable life." And the Prophet ﷺ said, "No, O Umar, this is for them in this dunya, it is for us in the hereafter." Look at the dua that the Prophet ﷺ used to make. And it is a dua that perhaps most of us are not even prepared to make. Okay? It's a very powerful dua and it's very difficult. And scholars have said, although there's nothing wrong with the dua, but when you make dua, be prepared for this dua. But what is the dua? The Prophet ﷺ used to say, "Allahumma ahyini miskinan wa amitni miskinan wa ahshurni yawm al-qiyamati fi zumrat al-masakin." Oh Allah, let me live as a poor person, let me die as a poor person, and let me be raised on the day of judgment amongst the poor people. And this was the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ. So he did not have any worldly motive behind it. And this is why Rasul ﷺ and his descendants, they were not allowed to get zakat or sadaqah. Why? Allah made it haram upon the family of the Prophet ﷺ, so that people don't doubt their intentions and their sincerity. So وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ. Okay? And you do not ask them of any wages. So obviously the Prophet ﷺ knew this, but this is primarily for other people to look into this. What is the reason behind it? وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ. You do not ask them for any wages. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. This Quran is nothing more than a reminder for the Alameen. Dhikr is one of the names of the Quran. The Quran has many names. There are 4 names that are the most common. Number 1, Kitab. Number 2, Quran. Kitab means that which is written. Quran means that which is recited. Both of them are complementary, and they are mentioned in the Quran about 75 times. And these are 2 of the 3 ways in which the Quran has been preserved. It is written and it is recited. Then the third is dhikr. Dhikr means a reminder. And it shows that the message of the Quran is nothing new. It is to kind of remind us that which is already ingrained in our fitrah. Okay? It is ingrained in every person's fitrah. He knows what is right and wrong. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Okay, let me explain this through an example. Even those who are living, for example, in the jungles of Africa, and those who are completely cut off from civilization, even they know morally what is right and wrong. Okay, even if they have not received a book or they have not received, the message of a specific prophet, they know that to hurt someone, to steal from someone, to kill someone, all of this morally and ethically is wrong. And the Quran has come to reinstate and to reiterate the same points. Okay, so this is nothing but a reminder. In huwa illa dhikrun lil alamin. It has not come with a new message, because the fitrah of every human being is pure. Unlike in some other faiths, they have changed the theology and the teaching of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, and they say that every person is born in sin. As Muslims, we do not believe this, and this is not what Isa alayhi salatu wasalam taught either, even in the New Testament. Every person is born pure. كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Every person is born in a pure state. That pure state to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without ascribing any partners unto Him, and to be good to others. And the Quran has come to remind us of that same thing. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ. So this is the third name of the Quran. And the fourth name of the Quran is Furqan. Furqan means the criterion, from the word faraqa, to distinguish between right and wrong. And there is a surah that is named after that as well, a surah that is called Furqan. So these are the four names: Kitab, Quran, Dhikr, and number 4, Furqan. It is but a reminder al-alameen, for all of the people. Alameen in one sense means the worlds. You have the world of the human beings. You have the world of the jinns. You have the world of the animals, of the plants. So the Quran is a reminder for everyone, for human beings, jinns, and everyone. The other meaning of alameen is the world of nations. You have the world, the nation of the Romans, the nation of the Persians, the nation of the Arabs, of the Chinese. So the Quran is a reminder for all of mankind. In the next ayah, ayah number 105, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَأَيٍّ مِّنْ آيَةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And how many signs in the heavens and the earth, يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا, that they pass by, وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ, but they're heedless to them. There's so many signs we see in the creation of Allah, in the heavens and the earth, very clear and obvious signs, but we're heedless. If we were to ponder over them, very easily we can see that there is a creator, there's a khaliq, there's one who has created everything. And it just did not come into existence by coincidence. Look at, the sun, the moon, the stars, the hundreds and thousands and millions of stars in the sky. Look at the sun itself, how every single day it rises at a certain time and it sets at a certain time. It is so exact that we can actually calculate that for the whole year. And it would never delay, by a few minutes or by an hour or two. It's not that one day the sun rises at 7 o'clock and then the following day it will rise at 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It's always at the exact same time. And it's perfect, the temperature is perfect. If it was to be anything closer to the earth, even by a few millimeters, we will burn to death. And if it was few millimeters beyond its point, we will freeze to death. So everything is perfect. You see all of these signs. Look at the clouds. Look at the winds, how it pushes the clouds to a certain land and then brings down rain. And it brings back life on the earth. Okay, this is something we see, it's amazing. Okay, and this can't just all happen by coincidence. That it's at a certain level, and when it pushes the clouds and it brings down rain. So these are some of the signs in the heavens. Wal-ard, and also in the earth. Look at the natural signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the mountains, look at the valleys, look at the earth, look at the ponds and the rivers, look at the ocean, look at the jungles, look at the trees. So many things that we see, and so many. Even within the animal kingdom, there's so many different species that we find, right? And they're still discovering more. And if they were to look into the ocean, that is even greater. The ocean is 3 times as big as the land. And there's much more, that they can find, and they will continue to find and discover in the ocean. So all of these are signs that people pass by, وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ, but they are heedless of them. Next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ. Most of them do not believe in Allah, إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ, except that they ascribe partners unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very, very important point. What is being negated here? Not the fact that people don't believe in Allah, but that they believe in Allah, but they commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So what is being negated is not that they don't believe in Allah, but they don't believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is not the essence of Iman that you believe in Allah. The essence of Iman is that you believe in the oneness of Allah. Because all of the primitive societies, they believed in God. And by the way, as a side point, to not believe in God and this concept of atheism, this is actually a very new phenomenon. It never really existed in the past. It's something very new of recent times. In the past, everyone, all of these societies, they believe in some supernatural being. Okay? Otherwise, how can you explain all of these things? How did everything just come like this? So they believe in Allah. Even the Quraysh, they believed in Allah. If you ask them, Man khalaqa samawati wal ard, who created the heaven and the earth? La yaqulun Allah. They would say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of them, they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they used to commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this was the thrust of the Quran. One of the main themes of the Quran is to prove the oneness of Allah. Although there's ayahs that proves the existence of Allah, but most of it is directed to this fact that you need to believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see this. Most of the people, they do believe in Allah, but they commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ, most of them, they do not believe in Allah except that they associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In verse number 107, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَأَمِنُوا أَن تَأْتِيهِمْ غَاشِيَةٌ مِّنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ. Do they feel secure that a punishment of Allah, do they feel secure from the punishment of Allah? They will come upon them. غَاشِيَةٌ مِّنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ. غَاشِيَة means that which envelops and covers a person completely. This is why the Day of Judgment has been called Ghashiyah, because it envelops and covers the person completely. Okay, and there's a surah in the Quran that is named after this. Hal ataka hadithul ghashiyah. That punishment, they will completely cover you. It completely envelops the person. أَفَأَمِنُوا أَن تَأْتِهِمْ غَاشِيَةٌ مِّنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ. Did they feel secure from the punishment of Allah that when it comes, it would cover them completely? أَوْ تَأْتِيَهُمُ السَّاعَةُ. Or the hour will come upon them بَغْتَةً, suddenly, وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, while they perceive not. Okay, so either there's one of two options. Either they will get the punishment in this world, or if not, then they would have to face the consequences in the hereafter, on the Day of Judgment. Sa'a primarily here means the Day of Judgment, or it could also refer to death, because as soon as you die, as the Prophet said, فَقَدْ قَامَتْ قِيَامَةُ. The qiyam for him begins right there and then. The hisab and kitab for him starts right there. So either you get the punishment in this world, or if not, you get it in the hereafter. In verse number 108, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِ أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ. Say, this is the path that I'm calling towards. عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ, upon clear knowledge. أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي, I and those who follow me. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ, and praise be to Allah. Pure is Allah. وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, and I'm not of the polytheists. So the Prophet ﷺ has been ordered to say, this is the path that I'm calling towards. Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. The path that Rasulullah said, لَيْلُهَا كَنَهَارِهَا, the night is like its day. The shining path, the night is like the day, and it leads directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this path is only one. Okay? Other paths are many. And this is why in the Quran, when it comes to Sirat al-Mustaqim, the singular is used. Because truth is only one. But when it comes to other paths, there are multiples. So when it comes to the other paths, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the plural form. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلِ, do not follow the other paths, because there are many ways of misguidance. But there's only one truth. When it comes to the word nur and dhulumat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the singular form. لِتُخْرِجَ النَّاسَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. Allah has revealed the Quran to take them out of darknesses, from darknesses to light. So the light is only one, the truth is one, but dhulumat, darkness and misguidance are many. This is why the singular form is used. This is the path that I am calling towards. Okay, so to call towards the truth, this is also an obligation upon us, upon the Prophet ﷺ and upon the followers. If you claim to be a follower of the Prophet ﷺ, then you must do what is mentioned in this ayah. Because عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي, I and those who follow me. If you claim to follow the Prophet ﷺ, you must invite others to the truth as well. It is not enough for you to be good yourself, that you just be good and you recite Quran and come to the masjid and pray salah and that's it. You have to invite others as well, according to your level of understanding and how much you know. But it is important that in some way we also invite others as well. And this is mentioned very briefly and succinctly in Surah Al-Asr. Wal-Asr, by the token of time, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, verily man is in deficit, except those who have four qualities. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe and do righteous deeds. That's for themselves. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, encourage others to the truth, encourage others to be patient. In Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions one of the unique characteristics of this ummah, and that is كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ, you are the best ummah that have been selected for mankind. Why? The reason is mentioned afterwards. تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, because you are supposed to enjoin good and you forbid evil. There is no prophet to come after the Prophet ﷺ. So the knowledge of people of this ummah, they take on the status of the Prophet ﷺ collectively. In that, they're supposed to invite people to the truth. Obviously, there is no prophet after the Prophet ﷺ, but the ulama and the people of knowledge, they're considered to be the inheritors of the Prophet. So you must invite people to the truth. Okay? Otherwise, if not, when the punishment of Allah comes, it will come upon everyone. And Rasulullah explained this through a beautiful example. He said, those who do not prevent others from doing evil, the example is like two group of people that board a ship. One of them, they settle on the upper deck, and the other one on the bottom deck. And those who are on the bottom deck, whenever they need water, they have to go on top. And so after some time, they say to themselves, why bother those who are above us? Why not make a hole in the bottom and just get water from there? And so the Prophet said, if they do this, and those above them do not prevent them, then all of them will be destroyed and all of them would perish. The same thing, that when you see someone else is doing something wrong, even though you yourself may be good, but if you don't do and you don't try to correct them in any way, then when the punishment of Allah comes, it will come upon everyone. So obviously we must correct the person, and the Prophet mentioned there's three levels of correction. مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. If you see something wrong, you correct it with your hand. Okay, if you're a person of authority, maybe the parent, he can correct his children, the teacher can correct his students, the imam, he can also correct, his attendees of the masjid. Every person has some authority. So if you have that authority, you must correct it with your hand. You must physically stop the person. The law enforcement must try to stop the criminal. مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. If he cannot do so, if he's not in that position, فَبِلِسَانِهِ. Then he should at least do it with his tongue. And if he cannot even do that, فَبِقَلْبِهِ. And he should at least consider it as something evil in his heart. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. But that is the lowest level of iman. In the next ayah 109, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ. Praise be to Allah. وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. I'm not of the polytheists. Okay, ayah number 109. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. And we have not sent before you إِلَّا رِجَالًا. Except men نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ. To whom we send revelation to. مِنْ أَهْلِ الْقُرَى. From the people of the city. And this is the standard position of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that it was men that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent into this world, not angels. And also men, not women. Okay. Now when it comes to the second issue, there was actually a minority opinion of some scholars that perhaps Allah may have sent female prophets as well. Now that is not the dominant position, but many of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah scholars, they've also mentioned that point. Obviously the proofs of the majority is stronger, but they also have some very interesting proofs. So I'll mention that as well, and then mention the answers to those questions. So there's some great scholars, they have said, no, it is possible that Allah may have sent female prophets as well, right? What is one of their proofs? Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, and Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam spoke to Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, and there's a whole conversation that is mentioned in Surah Al-Imran. وَإِذْ قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَا مَرْيَمُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَاكِ وَطَهَّرَكِ وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Okay, she was chosen above all of the women of mankind, and Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam spoke to her. Number 2, in Surah Al-Qasas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the mother of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. وَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى أَنْ أَرْضِعِهِ. And we revealed unto the mother of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam to breastfeed the child. So wahi is used. We gave wahi to the mother of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And the way they answer this ayah is, over here is Allah is negating the thinking, okay, the attitude of the Quraysh, where they said, how come angels are not sent? So Allah is saying, we sent before you men as well. We never sent angels before. It's not negating the fact that women were not sent. It's negating the other fact. We never sent angels. So this is how they look at it. So it's pretty interesting. But it seems like the opinion of the majority is stronger. First and foremost, because obviously a prophet, a male prophet would be able to properly, do his, his job, and would be able to convey the message. Because if it's a female prophet, if she cannot even lead the salah, how can she actually convey to the people, especially in that society, okay, where men, and even till now, men are considered to be the leaders of the house. So that, how about the ummah and the nation? So therefore, it seems like men were always prophets. They were never female prophets. This seems to be the stronger position. Now, how do we answer those questions? Number 1, seeing an angel perhaps is one of the signs of becoming a prophet, but is not everything. Basically, there has to be certain things. There's about 46 parts of prophethood, Nabuwah, right? One of them perhaps is seeing an angel, but that is not the only one. Others basically could see angels as well. Okay, so just seeing the angel itself is not enough. There has to be other things fulfilled as well. What are those other things? We don't know. Another thing is that when it comes to the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's mother in Surah Al-Qasas, where Allah says, we revealed unto the mother of Musa, and wahi is used. Well, wahi is of different categories. You have wahi of the highest level that is given to prophets. But then there's wahi one level below that is given to righteous people. And you have wahi that is even given to, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. Like in Surah Al-Nahl, Allah talks about the honeybee. وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. And your Lord has inspired and given wahi to the honeybee. Obviously that does not make the honeybee a prophet, but that is revelation and inspiration Allah gives to the honeybee. So there's 6 levels of wahi. The highest level is what makes a person a prophet. There's one level below that is given to righteous people. So the one that is mentioned in Surah Al-Qasas is basically of the 5th type, the type of wahi that is given to righteous people, and that was given to the mother of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. And then basically the majority also use this ayah as a proof too, that at the end of the day, the word rijal is used. وَمَا رَسَلَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا. We never sent before you except men. to whom we revealed min ahl al-qura, from the people of the city. Okay, from the people of the city, because people that are from the countryside, they're usually very harsh, and they don't have, they're not, their akhlaq are of a different type. And we know the story of the Bedouins when they came to speak to the Prophet, they're very harsh. And we know that one story of a person who came to the masjid and started to urinate, because obviously they're raised in a place where they don't have much interaction with people. But the prophets of Allah, they were always from the city. أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, have they not walked in the land, فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ, and seen what was the consequence of those that came before them. Haven't they walked in the lands? And we know the Quraysh, they were familiar with this. They used to go, they used to go to the north, to Syria, they used to go to the south, Yemen, and they used to trade, and they used to pass by the ruins of Thamud, and they used to see it, okay? And, it was very clear to them that this is what happened to those who denied their messenger. And even to this day, you could still see it. There's still pictures, okay, and you can still see it, on Google or even on YouTube, actually the ruins of the people of Thamud. These literally, giants that built their walls, their houses, carved it out of mountains. And even to this day, you could actually see the ruins of Thamud. And they used to pass by it. أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَدَارُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا, and the house of the hereafter is better for those who fear Allah. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, would they not understand? We have two more ayahs. Ayah number 110, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ, and on many occasions the punishment was delayed until when even the messengers, they fell despair, they were in despair. وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِبُوا, and they thought that now they will be rejected by the people. By the way, there's two different qira'ats, okay? And both of them are correct, and they have a slightly different meaning, and both of them, they complement each other. وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِبُوا, or وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِّبُوا, and they thought that they will be rejected. Okay, so the prophets thought that now the people will reject them because the punishment has been delayed. The prophet is telling them that if you don't believe, the punishment of Allah comes. But now when it got delayed, then they thought, the prophets, that now they will be rejected by the people. Okay, وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِّبُوا. Okay, and the other qiraat, وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ قَدْ كُذِّبُوا, and they thought, according to the other qiraat, and the people thought that now the prophets were lied to. Okay, the prophets were lied to, that they were saying that the punishment of Allah comes, but now we don't see it. So the people, so basically, who did the thinking? According to one, the prophets thought that now the people reject them because the punishment has not come yet. The other one is the people thought that the prophets were lied to, na'udhu billah, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when they started to think, and both of them are correct, the prophets may have thought as well, and the people as well. When they thought this, جَاءَهُمْ نَصْرُنَا, there came to them our help, فَنُجِّيَ مَن نَشَاءُ, we save those whom we willed, وَلَا رَدُّ بَأْسُنَا عَنِ الْقَوْمِ الْمُجْرِمِينَ, our punishment is not averted from the guilty ones. And then the last ayah, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ, indeed in their stories there is a lesson for people of understanding. قَصَصِهِمْ, the plural is used, okay, in their stories, not just one story, because the whole story of Yusuf is not one story. There are many, many stories in this surah. In this, there is ibrah, a lesson for people of understanding. مَا كَانَ حَدِيثًا يُفْتَرَى, this is not a story that was invented. It is not a false, fictitious story. And this is important because sometimes we read stories that are just fictional for kids, and we read it for just pleasure reading, just for enjoyment. Even if it has a moral to it, it still doesn't affect the person. Okay, but when you hear a true story, real characters, real lifetime events, then it affects you more. So ما كان حديثا يفترى, this is not a story that has been invented, ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه, but it is a confirmation of that which came before it. It confirms what is mentioned in the Quran and in the Tawrat and in the Injil. وَتَفْسِيرَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, it is an explanation of everything. وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِقَوْمِ يُؤْمِنُونَ, and a means of guidance and mercy لِقَوْمِ يُؤْمِنُونَ, for people who believe. This is the end of Surah Yusuf. We come to the conclusion of this surah. إِنْ أَصَبْتُ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ وَإِنْ أَخْطَأْتُ فَمِنِّي وَمِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ. If there was anything I said that was right and correct, then it is indeed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if there were any mistakes that I made, then indeed it is from me and it is from shaitan. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.